Ever get that like little jolt of, oh no, when you see a friend request from, say, your dad's new girlfriend?
Oh, yeah.
It's like this tiny but a kind of huge social dilemma, right? Like, do you accept out of obligation, be the good kid, or do you just say, nope, my mental health comes first and ignore it?
Totally. It feels so minor, but it brings up all these questions about boundaries and, well, how much you want to let certain people into your online life.
Exactly. And in a weird way, that's kind of what we do here with like big, complex topics. We're trying to figure out how to understand them quickly, clearly, without getting totally overwhelmed. So this deep dive is kind of like your cheat sheet for making sense of things, just like figuring out how to handle that awkward friend request.
Love that analogy.
And speaking of introductions, which that whole friend request thing kind of is, right? That's actually our topic today.
It is, and it's more universal than you might think. We're talking about introductions in every sense, easing into social situations, but also, and especially, nailing those opening lines in essays, articles, reports, you name it.
Because honestly, whether it's in person or on paper, the goal is the same. You want to come across, well, be clear about what you're bringing to the table, and hopefully make someone actually want to hear more.
Absolutely. And we've got a really interesting source to help us dissect this.
Oh yeah, this one is a bit different. It's a PDF titled, Get This, Let Me Tell You About Introductions, with the subtitle, Swipe Left on Dad's New Girlfriend, exploring the ethical dilemma of ignoring her Facebook friend request as self-care or moral treason.
It sounds kind of, well, lighthearted.
Totally. But trust me, this thing is packed with really smart strategies for writing introductions that grab people's attention and set the stage perfectly. It uses that whole friend request scenario as a way to show what not to do, and then it gives you a really clear framework for getting it right.
I'm intrigued. So are we saying there's a direct link between navigating awkward social situations and, like, the structure of a good essay intro?
That's exactly what we're diving into. This PDS breaks it down into 5 key elements, almost like a checklist. First up, the hook. Think of it like that first line in a movie trailer that makes you go, wait, what's going to happen?
Got to get them hooked.
Right. They even give an example using the friend request. Dad's new girlfriend just friended me. Am I ready for digital stepmotherhood? See how that instantly sparks your curiosity?
Okay, yeah, I see what they're doing. But how does that translate to, say, writing? What makes a good hook in an essay?
Well, that's where the PDF points out a common trap they call slip sliding away, which is basically when you're vague or you bury the main point. It's like if your dad just casually mentioned he's seeing someone new and never gave you any details, you'd be kind of left hanging, right?
Right. No clear picture. So avoid being too vague. Got it. What comes after the hook?
Once you've got their attention, you gotta notify, which means quickly giving some context. In the friend request example, they suggest something like, social media in modern life presents difficult choices about personal boundaries and family dynamics. It sets the scene without going overboard.
Makes sense. You're acknowledging the situation without, like, launching into your entire family history.
Haha, exactly. Which, by the way, they actually call that pitfall the running start. Another one to avoid. Don't over-explain right off the bat. Keep it focused.
Okay, so hook them, give us some context. What's next?
Then you got to translate, which is where you clearly state the central problem. Think of it like this. Deciding whether to accept social media requests from new family connections creates real ethical dilemmas for individuals. It's about laying out the core issue in a way that anyone can understand, whether it's your reader or even just you trying to figure out what to do.
So it's not just about stating the problem. It's about making sure everyone is on the same page about what the problem I asked.
You got it. Then we get to the report, which in Essayland is basically your thesis statement. This is your big argument, plain and simple. The PDS example is, this paper argues that prioritizing personal well-being can ethically justify ignoring awkward friend requests. Boom, you know exactly what the writer's going to try and convince you of.
And in a way, that's just as important in those awkward social situations. Right. Without a clear idea of what you want, what your boundaries are, you're kind of going in blind.
100%. And finally, we've got the outline, or what they also call the structure map. This is your sneak peek of what's coming up. You're telling a reader, here's how I'm going to back up my argument.
A roadmap.
Exactly. Their example is, first, this will examine the principles of relational ethics. Second, it will explore the concept of self-care as an ethical imperative. Finally, it will offer practical advice for navigating challenging social media interactions. It gives you a sense of order and makes the whole thing feel manageable.
I can see how that applies to writing. Without a clear structure, You risk getting lost in the details, kind of like that tail wagging the dog thing they mentioned earlier.
Yeah, you got to make sure your main point is driving the whole thing, not getting lost in the weeds. So, to sum it up, whether you're staring at a blank page or agonizing over a friend request, remember the 5 steps: hook, notify, translate, report, and outline.
It's a surprisingly versatile framework, honestly. And if we think back to that initial friend request dilemma, maybe a similar thought process could help us approach even those personal ethical puzzles more strategically.
Right. Instead of just reacting, take a minute to consider the angles, the potential outcomes, like you'd outline an essay, and those common intro pitfalls the PDF talked about: slip sliding away, tail wagging the dog, the running start. Those are great reminders to stay clear, concise, and focused in all our communication, not just writing.
It all comes back to intentionality, doesn't it? Being mindful of how we start conversations, whether online or offline. So here's a little something to ponder. How much could our everyday interactions improve if we consciously applied these introduction principles? And could that more thoughtful approach even help us smooth over those tricky family dynamics that pop up? Just some food for thought.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Until next time.